Today we have 3 stories that are going to make your blood absolutely boil. First up, a dad walks in to find his wife through a surprise party for their painfully shy 12-year-old, celebrating the one thing the kid begged her to keep private. Then, a mom drops a bombshell on her pregnant 19-year-old. Pack your bags because this baby is 0% my problem. And finally, a woman watches her own friend scream colonizer at a guy for wearing clothes that her culture literally loves to see people wear. 3 families, 3 explosions, 3 people throwing the same question at the internet. So grab a seat, because trust me, you're going to have opinions. First up, a dad has to physically plant himself in a doorway to stop his wife from dragging their terrified 12-year-old into a party she never asked for. Let me set the stage. My wife and I, 43 male, 42 female, have 2 daughters, 7 years apart. 19 years old, was at college in a different state when this happened. Girls are very different. 19 years old is outgoing, even extroverted, loves meeting new people, trying new things, etc. 12 years old is shy, a homebody, finds things she's comfortable with and sticks with them. In fairness, 19 years old was kind of like this until she was 16 or so. Maybe it's genetic XD. Couple months ago, 12 years old comes to me in my home office, obviously upset, stammers a bit, then manages to tell me that she just got her first period. I play the supportive dad, comfort her, and get her a box of sanitary pads my wife had bought earlier in the year, guessing this was going to happen sooner or later, and go over the instructions with her. She goes into her bathroom, does what she has to do, thanks me for my help. I got her some ice cream and Midol, told her there was nothing to be embarrassed about, and she could always come to me for anything. Wife gets home later that day. 12 years old tells her what happened. Wife starts crying, my little girl is growing up, etc., then asks who should be invited to the period party, which I only knew of from listening to Bert Kreischer. If they were a thing where 19 years old started, she never asked for one. 12 years old immediately closes off, says she doesn't want a PP, doesn't want anyone to know. Wife tries to talk to her some more, but 12 years old ignores her and goes to her room. Wife tries to enlist my aid in changing her mind, but I tell her she said she didn't want one, don't worry about it. 2 days later, I get home from running errands, and before I can even make it to the stairs, 12 years old runs up to me and asks if she could do her homework in my office. I'm confused, but say sure, and she bolts upstairs. At this point, I started to suspect what was going on and walked into the living room to find that my wife had not only decorated it like something which wouldn't have looked out of place on my super sweet 16, but there were several family friends, all women, and a few I recognize as neighborhood mothers. I beckon wife into the hall. She asks where 12 years old is, and I tell her she wanted to do homework in my office. She rolls her eyes and starts to move past me, but I step in front of her. Me, what are you doing? Wife, go to get 12 years old, it's her party. Me, she told you specifically she didn't want one of these. Wife, oh, she didn't mean that. This is an important time for a girl. She needs to know not to be ashamed of her body. Me, she's not. I already explained things to her. She just doesn't want to talk about it more. Wife, I don't expect you to understand. This is just for us women. She actually tried to push past me, but I stepped into the doorway and completely blocked her. Wife, what's wrong with you? Me, what's wrong with you? You know how shy 12 years old is. You knew she didn't want you doing something like this, and you did it anyway. Wife, I told you it's for her own good. We can't let her grow up with a negative attitude towards something so natural. Me, and we're not. I told you. She knows what's going on. She's getting a handle on it. She just doesn't want to talk about it with anyone else for right now. Wife, well, it wasn't your business to tell her about it anyway. Me, you were at work. Was I supposed to ignore her for 4 hours until you got home? Wife, you could have called me. I would have come home. Me, it still would have taken you an hour. She was upset. I knew what was going on. I talked her through it. Wife, you don't know anything about it. It's never happened to you. At this point, I gave up. Point to my wife, no, I've never had a period, but I had 3 older sisters and a live-in girlfriend before my wife and I met. Plus, we've been married almost 21 years. I'm pretty well-versed. She again tries to move past me, but I don't move. Me, number 12 years old, doesn't want this. I'm not letting you make her do it. Wife, fine, have it your way. She goes back to the living room and tells the other ladies the PP is off because I'm being a jackass. I lose it, follow her in, and let the women know, calmly but in no uncertain terms, that I appreciate what they wanted to do, but 12 years old made it explicitly clear that she did not want this party, and my wife is trying to pressure her into it. Several of the moms frown at her. My wife starts to backpedal, talking about how she didn't think 12 years old was being serious, but I ignore her and begin taking down the decorations. Everyone clears out shortly, And once the coast is clear, 12 years old comes back downstairs. My wife gives her a half-assed IMO apology, again saying she didn't think 12 years old was serious. But 12 years old also ignores her and just starts doing her homework in her usual place at the table. My wife was pissed at me for a week, claiming I undermined her authority as a parent, apparently, by not helping her force our daughter into doing something she didn't want to do, and made her look back in front of the neighborhood moms by telling them she'd been doing this against our daughter's wishes. So am I the asshole? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "I'm guessing there's a reason kiddo went to Opie instead of calling her mom in the first place." Another commenter said, "And puberty embarrassment aside, there's a whole host of privacy issues involved with what Opie's wife did. Ignoring her kid's request for privacy is a massive violation of trust, especially for a kid." Yeah, the comments are squarely in this dad's corner, calling him the parent who actually stopped and listened. Sounds pretty open and shut to me, but what do you think? So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below. Next, a mom finds out her college-bound 19-year-old is pregnant and ready to move her deadbeat boyfriend straight into the family home. My daughter, Rose, 19, was always a smart girl. She did well in school and got a full ride to a great school that is locally. She's been living with me and going to school and is doing well in school. She got this new boyfriend a few months ago, who I don't like. I can smell the bullcrap. He constantly lets her down, but covers it up with a big smile and grand promises. Despite my warnings, they're still dating, and now she's pregnant. I offered to pay for the abortion and take a few days off work to take her and help her recover. She said no. She's going to marry her boyfriend, and they'll be one big, happy family. He wants to move into my house, and she'll drop out of school while he works to support them. He's a bartender who doesn't go to college. I laughed at this idea, which made her mad. She told me that since he can't move in, I'll need to step up and help with the baby more. Y'all, she has always been a very sensible child. I don't know where this all came from. I flat out told her that if she thinks she's grown enough to have and raise a child and get married, then she needs to move out soon and manage being an adult with the child's father. I raised the one child I wanted. I do not want any more children living in my home. I told her I'd pay for diapers here and there, and I'd still visit her. But this baby is 0% my responsibility. If she chooses adoption, which I'm pretty sure she wouldn't, I'd be willing to help her navigate that. She won't talk to me. My husband, her stepdad, is staying out of this but thinks I could help more. I told him he's welcome to go over and babysit for her, and that shut him up, LOL. Am I the asshole? Edit. I had my daughter when I was 19. I was married to her father, who was in the military. I still graduated college on time at the age of 22, and everything worked out well for us until he died in service. The fact that it worked out okay for me is clouding my daughter's judgment, I think. Her trashy boyfriend can't even offer her or her child health insurance. It is a completely different scenario. Also, so many of you are suggesting I still let her live with me and keep the baby. This is not happening. I don't want a baby in my home, period. And I'm not babysitting either. I'll do normal grandparent stuff like show up to birthday parties and buy gifts here and there, but that's it. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "I have a friend who was in the same situation with her daughter about 16 years ago. They let her stay but told her it was the one and only time and set all sorts of parameters." Another commenter said, "Jesus, that does sound awful as hell. OMG, as a grandparent, that would kill me. I doubt I would have let them take advantage of me for that long, but still, asserting tough love is much more productive than enabling." The comments are firmly on this mom's side, applauding the tough love and warning exactly what happens when you don't draw a line. Feels pretty clear-cut, but where do you land? If you're enjoying these stories so far, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more. Last one, a woman of Asian descent watches her friends melt down over a white buddy wearing her culture's clothing, even after she tells them it's completely welcome. So I, female, 26, am of Asian descent. I won't specify which, just for a little privacy. I have a very diverse group of friends, some white, a lot not. We all hang out and honestly have very few issues apart from the usual ones that friends have occasionally. The problem arose the other day where a video circulated of one of my white male friends has taken some time off work to travel through different parts of Asia. He visited my home country, and while they're dressed in some of our cultural clothing while attending some events. Now, the clothes are very comfortable and suitable for the climate, and he has continued to wear them on his journey. For context, my culture gets very excited when people want to wear and use our clothing. It makes us feel appreciated, seen, and celebrated. Not only would he have had the full blessing of anyone who he met while in my country, but he also would have the approval of every person on my community here. The only people who had an issue were some of my African-American friends. They were outraged on my behalf and left some very insulting comments on his video and in our friends' chat. When I clarified my culture's views and my personal ones, most of them calmed down and apologized. One girl, however, won't stop. She calls him a colonizer, full of white privilege, and keeps assuming the right to tell him he can't wear the items despite any comments otherwise. Would I be the asshole for telling her bluntly to drop the subject and that I find her outrage and hatred more offensive than my male friend wearing the clothes? Update. Firstly, thank you all for the replies and support. It was all most appreciated. Sorry if I've not replied to your comment or message. There's been a lot. Those using it as an excuse to air aggressive views towards our ethnicity. I'm sorry, but that's not the purpose of this post, not what I'm looking for. Now, to the update. I met her in person last night. We sat and talked about the situation and my culture's views. She did promise to stop her comments, but thought I was being extremely naive about my attitude to our mutual friend. Overall, it wasn't a very productive conversation, as she brushed off the concept of my country, encouraging the sharing of our culture, and said that our view of white people was unrealistic. I mentioned that we'd had our own versions of appropriation, issues, and aggression from many cultures. That also was brushed aside as though it had no bearing. I'm not sure I'll continue my friendship with her, as it does seem to be more of a deep-seated hatred. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, Asian here too. I think people who grew up in America and people who live in their own country have a different view of cultural appropriation. People in Asia, especially South Asia, love when tourists try out their clothing or food or music or festivals. Another commenter said, I attended an Indian friend's wedding, and her family was so excited that I, a pasty ginger, wore a lehenga to all the events. I was honestly overwhelmed by how excited they were, LOL. The comment section is overwhelmingly backing her on this one, with people from all kinds of cultures saying they love when others join in and celebrate with them. Sounds decisive, but what's your verdict? If you want to hear stories from different subreddits, let me know down in the comments. So there you have it, 3 families, 3 full-blown messes, and 3 people absolutely convinced they did the right thing. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your verdict on each story down in the comments, and tell me which one made you the angriest. I got a whole pile of even wilder stories lined up for next time. So stick around because the drama is only just getting started.